So Rohan, let's now talk about the Indian startup ecosystem. So I mean, it's actually evolving quite a bit. The dynamics, the macroeconomics within India, it's actually shaping up really well. So I mean, what would you actually envision in terms of the Indian startup ecosystem, and what would be your recommendations or best practices to budding entrepreneurs?
Mm, from what I see right now is I feel everything is so distributed. Let's say if I was recently hired by this company called Candle by Kalyan Jewellers, which is like an online extension of Kalyan Jewellers. And what I noticed there was there were separate departments. Like one would they would have this marketing department, sales department, customer support, and all of that. And what was shocking to me is that the companies I was working with, the US based companies that I was working with, and we were using this growth hacking framework, we never had such departments. We were very lean and mean. We adopted the lean startup approach. What we would have is a growth team where we will have technical people, marketers, and everyone in one team working together. And if I have to navigate across the Indian startups, if I let's say if you want to implement a change in the product, I would want to first propose it to the marketers that if we change this would happen. Then they would say to the different department, that is the tech or development team, that we may want to include this change. And this is a long process. If you are working in an enterprise that has an hierarchy or different segmented departments, it gets very difficult to implement and run experiments if this is the structure. What I now do is, the first thing I want the Indian startups to do is, if they are working with me, we create a growth team where everyone is in one team. There are no departments, and everyone in the team is responsible for growth. So let's say if you are working on the product, I want ideas from you. What would you implement at the product level so as to gain users or customers? If someone is in the marketing, of course, their job is to think of creative marketing strategies. And if someone is working at the customer support, their responsibility is how would you, what experience would you deliver so that we retain more users and customers. So in a growth team, everyone's responsibility is growth, and I think that's what we need to change in the Indian startups. Also, there was a report that says 90% of the Indian startups fail in the first 5 years. And that's where we feel the need of the growth hacking book, where we came up with a framework which we feel if it is followed, uh, we almost are guaranteeing that your run would be more than 5 years. We made this statement when at the launch of the book, and it got quoted in lots of media publications. I say that because it is proven. I've been doing this for other countries. I've been doing this for the US-based Bay Area startups already. I just would encourage Indian startups to really implement this. And lastly, I would want for companies to have an experimentation mindset. What I frequently get asked is, if we do this activity or experiment, what ROI do we expect out of that? I would want to that reframe it question and ask, how about running 100 different growth experiments, and then we will eventually find out what are the top 3 and top 5 experiments that are performing exceptionally well, and who knows that 1 or 2 experiments would be the key drivers of making your company a unicorn startup. So yeah, this is what my vision for Indian startup ecosystem is, and I truly want to see India being the $5 trillion economy, and I feel that it's not very far. Maybe 2030, by 2030 we would get to see that.
So is it then safe to say that every organization should maybe have a designation called as Chief Growth Officer?
Yeah, growth. So growth lead, growth officer, and then this chief growth officer is like another fancy term we can come up with. But truly, it's not about the titles. It's more about everyone truly caring about growth. Your job, if we hire a developer, his job is not just to develop the products. His job is to find the growth levers in the product, so it fosters growth.